Paul Rudd walked onto Stephen Colbert's stage with his usual easygoing charm, the audience erupting into applause as he offered his signature modest grin. For years, Rudd has built a reputation as Hollywood's nicest guy, relatable, humble, almost incapable of drama. That's why what happened next shocked everyone. Colbert, known for his sharp wit and layered sarcasm, kicked off the interview with light teasing about Rudd's ageless appearance. Rudd laughed along, tossing back playful remarks. But as the segment rolled on, Colbert's tone shifted. He brought up a recent interview where Rudd had shared thoughts about political divides in America, quoting him out of context. Rudd looked caught off guard. "That's not exactly what I said," he said calmly. Colbert, pressing on, doubled down with more quotes and a smirk, turning the conversation into a battle of interpretations. The audience laughed uncertainly, unsure whether this was part of the script or something real unraveling. What began as playful turned combative quickly. Rudd, maintaining composure, clarified his previous remarks, emphasizing nuance and good faith. "You know I was talking about empathy, right? Not picking sides." Colbert smirked again, replying, "Sure, Paul, but that's easy to say when you're everyone's favorite Avenger." The crowd laughed, but Rudd didn't. His face hardened just slightly, a flicker of disappointment passing. "I'm not here to be misquoted for ratings, Stephen." That line, direct and unsmiling, froze the room. Colbert shifted in his seat, brushing it off with a joke that didn't land. What followed was an awkward silence, something rare on late night. Rudd adjusted his mic as if debating whether to continue. The tension didn't ease. Colbert asked if he was being too political for Hollywood's golden boy. Rudd raised his eyebrows. "You're not being political. You're being dishonest." The audience gasped. Suddenly the tone was unmistakable. This wasn't part of any rehearsed segment. The conversation derailed entirely when Colbert mocked Rudd's soft stance as naive. "You want everyone to hug it out while the world's burning?" he asked. "That's not leadership, that's a movie ending," Rudd replied, calm but visibly irritated. "And mocking kindness, what's that, Stephen? Journalism?" The words hit harder than expected. Colbert tried to pivot to commercial break, but Rudd wasn't finished. "You brought me here to talk about a film, and instead you're painting me into some ideological cartoon." Colbert replied sharply, "I brought you here because people trust your voice, but if that voice is dodging accountability, what's it worth?" Rudd leaned back, crossed his arms and stared. "If you want accountability, start with yourself." The audience was silent now, every breath caught. It was tense, unscripted, and nothing like the usual Colbert vibe. No punchline could undo it. These two, once clearly fond of each other, were now locked in something personal and visibly unraveling. Without warning, a stage manager walked into view, whispering something to Colbert. Cameras kept rolling. Colbert gave a tight nod and turned to the camera. "We're going to take a short break," he said with a forced smile. But Rudd stood up. "No need," he said, unclipping his microphone. "I think I've said enough." Colbert tried to salvage the moment. "Paul, come on, let's not do this." But Rudd wasn't buying it. "You did this. You wanted a viral moment. Congratulations." He turned to the audience, gave a brief nod and walked off stage. No music played. No transition. Just stunned silence. For a moment, Colbert looked genuinely rattled. "Well, that was Paul Rudd," he muttered. The show cut to a promo reel, and everyone watching knew they'd just witnessed something rare and raw. Within minutes, the clip hit social media. Viewers were divided. Some said Colbert asked fair questions. Others said he ambushed a guest for ratings. Online platforms exploded with reactions. Clips of Rudd leaving the set circulated on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. People dissected every word, every facial expression. Paul Rudd owned Colbert. Read one trending post. "Colbert exposes Hollywood's fake neutrality," claimed another. Media outlets scrambled to reframe the narrative. Was it a meltdown, a misunderstanding, a calculated PR move? Neither side gave immediate comment, only fueling speculation. Fan pages lit up with support for Rudd, praising his composure and refusal to be boxed into soundbites. Others applauded Colbert for pushing back against celebrity platitudes. Either way, the confrontation overshadowed the film Rudd was promoting. No one remembered the title. They remembered the tension, the walk-off, the shot of Colbert sitting alone at his desk, clearly regretting, or perhaps rethinking, his approach. The audience hadn't just watched an interview. They'd watched a public fracture between two admired figures. That's what made it unforgettable. The following day, Colbert's show opened with an unusually somber tone. "Last night got a little intense," he began, trying to balance humor with contrition. He didn't apologize outright, but acknowledged that sometimes conversations get too heated for live television. Rudd, meanwhile, broke silence with a single tweet. Not everything should be entertainment. It went viral instantly, retweeted hundreds of thousands of times. People saw it as a mic drop statement, concise, loaded, and more powerful than any apology. News panels debated the incident for days. Analysts framed it as a commentary on the modern interview, where genuine discussion is often sacrificed for spectacle. Rudd's stance resonated. He wasn't just defending himself. He was defending the space for thoughtful discourse. That one tweet became a rallying cry. Fans printed it on T-shirts. It made headlines globally. In a world of endless content, his silence, and then that single, sharp sentence, cut through the noise. Producers at CBS reportedly met behind closed doors after the incident. While Colbert faced no official suspension, insiders claimed a new set of boundaries were drafted for interview content, particularly when it came to politicized topics. The staff was reminded that guests, even celebrities, were not combatants. Meanwhile, Rudd declined all follow-up appearances, rejecting invitations from other talk shows to clear the air. He didn't need to. His exit spoke for itself. Colbert's reputation took a subtle hit. For weeks, fans noticed fewer celebrity guests on the show as publicists re-evaluated the risks of unscripted exchanges. Rudd, paradoxically, became more respected than ever. His integrity and refusal to be a soundbite made him something rarer than likable, principled. The story became a modern myth, retold in clips and commentary. And Rudd, by not feeding the fire, allowed it to burn itself out, leaving behind only the scorched mark of a moment no one could fake. Months later, journalists still referenced the event. Articles called it the night late night broke character, citing how the line between host and guest had been obliterated by ego, principle, and misunderstanding. Film critics noted how Rudd's latest project, which once struggled for buzz, received renewed interest because of the confrontation. Ironically, his refusal to play the media game gave the film, and his message, more weight. But Rudd didn't gloat. He stayed quiet, appearing only at charity events or in pre-recorded interviews, never once discussing Colbert. Some took that silence as disdain. Others saw it as grace. Colbert continued hosting, though critics noticed a slight shift in tone. Less edge, more empathy. He laughed a little softer, asked questions a little more gently. Whether that was a consequence of guilt or growth was unclear, but no one denied it. The show and Colbert himself had changed. Sometimes it takes real fire to see what needs melting. Behind the scenes, Hollywood took note. Talk show producers held meetings about the ethics of guest treatment. Celebrity agents pushed for stricter terms. The days of ambushing stars under the guise of good TV were numbered. Rudd, without intending to, had redrawn a boundary that many didn't realize had already eroded. Fans continued to celebrate him, not for being perfect, but for being honest. He reminded people that civility isn't weakness, that compassion isn't bland, and that walking away is sometimes more powerful than staying to argue. Colbert, for his part, occasionally referenced the moment in self-deprecating ways, but never directly. The incident lived in a strange space, never quite resolved, never quite repeated. That tension made it iconic. No drama team could have written it better. Two intelligent men, caught in a moment, neither planned, showing the world what happens when decency collides with entertainment. And unlike most controversies, this one left both scarred and human. Years from now, the confrontation will still be cited in journalism classes, media studies, and internet retrospectives. It will be replayed in documentaries and YouTube essays about when celebrity culture cracked. Rudd's choice to leave, not argue, gave the moment its power. It reminded viewers that even the friendliest face can and should draw a line. Colbert, him too, played his part in exposing how fragile that line really is. In the end, neither was cancelled, but both were changed. The audience perhaps changed too, expecting more from interviews, from media, from themselves. The walk-off wasn't just about ego or politics. It was about control, about refusing to be manipulated, about standing for something real in a world of performance. And as Rudd vanished behind the curtain that night, he didn't just exit a show, he entered legend. No fireworks, no final word, just one quiet moment that said, "This far and no further."